Hi, Mahlaqa. Welcome to the Gaanda show. It's actually our first episode.
Great. No, thank you so much for having me, Samah. Super excited for this.
I'm also extremely excited. Actually, I was scrolling through my Twitter feed a few days back and I heard the news about Aimfit's investment. And honestly, I was so excited. I was like, we have to do this. I have to get you guys on a podcast and we have to talk about it.
Absolutely. You guys have been such big supporters of ours, from the very start.
So, how is it? How has it been since the news broke out? What's it been like?
Very exciting. I think we've been sitting on the news for some time, and when you go through a process like this, there's a lot of kind of legal backwork and things that you have to, get done, and then you're finally able to announce. So our team knew we were just excited to announce, and it's just the response that we've been getting is amazing. It's great. It's great to see so many people appreciating female founders who are in tech, people appreciating a startup in fitness. And I feel like, I mean, you can also comment on this, but I feel like people are genuinely excited about seeing what Aimfit will do from here on.
Exactly. I myself am extremely excited about what the future looks like because you have been doing something really amazing for the past 6 years, but you're now being called the first VC backed fitness startup out of Pakistan. So I'm sure it also adds a bit of pressure to the plate. But just having sort of that room to innovate and see till what extreme you can push fitness industry and how you can change it up.
Absolutely, absolutely, it is. So we've, the way that our business model so far has been structured, we were largely offline, and then obviously bootstrapped. So that brings its own. I think there's a lot of learning as well in doing business and in doing and in having a startup or initiative that you run that way. But then when you raise investment, and especially this is quite sizable in as far as Pakistani startups go. To be honest, like I think just as a number across the world, it's quite a good seed investment. And what that does is that it just opens up so many doors of opportunity. And for Aimfit, a really big sector that we are about to now venture into, and we're really ready to take it on, जिसे कहते हैं ना, take it on by the horns, is the online side. And we've always been excited about the online opportunity. We've always had this vision as founders that our mass scale impact, are like us getting to the mission that we've always defined for ourselves, which is for us to make Pakistan one of the fittest countries in the world, to really change the game of for women in Pakistan. And we see 110 million women who are our target audience, people who we feel really are facing a problem and are awaiting and really ready for a solution. And online is, you can really say that channel that we are super excited to turn towards with now this opportunity at hand.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about later on as well about how you're going to be dominating the online space. But before we talk about the number, by the way, we keep talking about the investment. So Aimfit just raised $1 million dollars in seed investment. I thought we should just let it out there for people who are listening. But before we get to your future plans, I want to talk about where and when Aimfit really started because the first studio opened up 6 years ago. How did the idea germinate before that?
Sure. So actually, so Noor and I both, we were studying in the UK. And we were at the same university. We used to be really into rowing and sports in general, but rowing is something that we picked up at a university. And it's actually like, so we were both at Oxford, and at Oxford, it's a very significant part of the university culture, like rowing, the rowing teams and, the rowing culture. So we really got into that. And that's where we were actually exposed to fitness and training, because it's such a significant part of any sport, as we know. And because you are rowing in a team, you are any fitness activities that you do them in groups. And while there are gyms, and while there are, university had a really nice gym, and there were multiple facilities, usually the training would happen in circuit format, in a class, or like outdoors running. So multiple activities in groups. And then I moved to London to work for a bit in the city. And I again saw how London was budding with this, upcoming fitness scene, and how people were moving away from the traditional gyms, and now starting to explore group fitness. Like a lot of yoga studios were coming up, a lot of hip hop dance studios, like you name it, right? So Zumba was becoming really big. And so I was into fitness. It was something that I had seen the benefits of for my own self. And then when I started to explore group fitness in London, I realized how fitness can be really fun. Like, it doesn't have to be associated with the boring treadmill in the gym, or
Exactly.
associated with like lifting really heavy iron. Like a lot of other people think, okay, you've got to go to the gym, you need to be in, actually in a certain shape to be in the iron section of the gym. Here I was like seeing that all these notions did not stand true, and fitness is welcoming, it's for everybody, it is about so much more than losing a few pounds. And I feel like that's where my thinking about this lifestyle, adopting fitness as something which becomes just as important as eating or sleeping in your week, on your days. That's where I think I personally started to see the benefits. And Noor was, we've always been close. We're sisters. She's a year, we're a year apart. So we've pretty much done, a lot of things together. So when we moved back to Pakistan, which both of us did together, we were in search of something similar. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything. And in fact, funny story, we actually did enroll at a gym. The day we landed, like the next day, we were enrolling at one of the gyms. We never ended up going because, again, it was just unfortunate to see that Pakistan hadn't moved on from, the gym culture and all of that. And that's how we actually decided to start something of our own. So we just rented a space where somebody was already doing some yoga, so we decided to use that space for a few hours in the day and start a class of our own, and really just the rest is history.
When you talk about how you discovered this whole community and you discovered the fitness community and what it really means to do that activity with your sister, whether it's like the people in your rowing team, do you think we have that kind of community building here at the school level in Pakistan? I know Noor went to LGS Defense. I'm not sure if were you also at that school?
Yes, both of us were,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, amazing. So I was, I think, 2 years junior to Noor, if I'm not wrong. I
Oh,
was like
okay.
batch of
Okay.
2010. Yeah. So what I
Hmm.
wanted to ask was that I remember LGS Defense where we did have sports, but it was never as big a scale as the MUN community or the debates community or even dramatics community. Do you feel that schools over here are really lacking when it comes to sports and fitness?
Sama, that's a good point. And I think, look, I think not all schools can be put into one category. I think there are schools that do a little more in one extracurricular field than in the other. But one thing is evident, that when students from Pakistan, for example, go to universities abroad, or like, for example, I got the chance, right, to compare how my background in sport had been to my peers at Oxford. And I can it was very easy for us to see that our background was much weaker in sports, much stronger in academics, much stronger in, even, to be honest, public speaking and all those jaise aap keh rahe ho. Partially because maybe of the school that we were going to. We both have their own benefits. Absolutely, sport is something which is, the physical activity also is so significant. So I do think that, there is, if we compare our schools to a global scale, we have a lot of room to cover. There's a lot of stuff that should happen. I think it's also starting to happen. There is an awareness. There is there is this acceptance towards this side. So for example, Aimfit now does a schools program, and we've been running that across Pakistan, majorly across Lahore and Islamabad. But we get a lot of positive response from schools.
Are you looking to also expand on the schools program in the future to different cities or different demographics?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like we really thought about this for quite some time, and there was a time when we strategically decided to. So we do a corporate program and we do a schools program, and we were thinking of, while both have their own like space, right? We wanted to double down on one, and we said, okay, if we had to, and we want to kind of go and explore one of these much further on, and do more in one space, it was a no-brainer for us. When you're in school, that's where their minds are getting shaped, right? That's why like the
Hmm.
school they go to, what they're being taught, teachers, that's why it's so important to like they say, like hit the iron while it's still hot. So it's for us, it's that for us that is systemic change, where you are reaching out to kids while they're still young and getting them to believe into this fitness philosophy. Because we keep repeating at Aimfit, this is what our motto is, that it's not about looking a certain way, or it's not about being a certain weight or a certain body type. Fitness goes beyond that. It's about emotional and mental health. It's about how productive you will stay in your day, how energetic, how you approach every other aspect of your life, and the positivity that you can infuse into any other role that you do in your life. And that's where we see the real contribution of fitness.
You talk about how fitness is sort of seen as looking a certain way, and right now you have that Instagram fitness aesthetic that is so cliche. I feel everybody, when you're working out, you just want to look at the short-term goals, and most of the times the long-term goals of exercising and putting your body through the motions, we overlook them because, like you said, it's a lifestyle. It's not just a short fix, and it's not like a band-aid you kind of just apply, right? It's a
Hmm.
lifestyle change. Your motto says that you want to make Pakistan the fittest country in the world. I'm sure there must be a very thin line that one may cross, and fitness may go into the unhealthy image. So how do you make sure that when a client comes to you, is there a part where you're educating them about what fitness should be like and you're aligning their goals?
Absolutely, this is actually a very good question, and 100% there's a process to it. So we make it a point to we're promoting a certain culture. And like, if you'll ask anybody, how does one make or change culture? Everything that you're doing, from like how you talk about something, from what you reward, from how you communicate with your wider community, even language that you use, small things, from the smallest decisions to, I think, major decisions, like the kind of imagery we put out and the kind of taglines we pick up for our branding and marketing. Like, everything promotes a certain image and a message. And this, that your point about what kind of fitness we want to promote, and if it's about aesthetics, or like how do we make sure that we're not just looking at you can say, jise kehte hain na, on the surface benefits. It's embedded into our culture. Our instructors are from trainings, from instructors, the trainings that the instructors do, to how they are communicating with clients in class. It's across the board, and especially with the online platform now. That's again our thinking. We're super, we accept all sorts of body images. Like, we've consciously said that, look, it's everybody, people come in different shapes and sizes, and that has nothing to do with, actually, a lot of times, with how fit you may or may not be. A lot of times, like, you'll see somebody who looks a certain shape, and they might be very fit or very skinny, you can say, as they look, but their body might not be in the most healthy form, right? It's very much a
Yeah,
phenomena.
exactly.
So we try to promote a very healthy image. We try to promote healthy eating. We never ever endorse or encourage any diets. We encourage that balance across everything that we do. And you'll see when we launch our online offering as well, and we're already working on it, that we're doing a lot of work on how do we make sure that we project a certain image, and people get a positive message from this, and they really get to, and like you've already also mentioned yourself, that education part, we build that into our community. We educate people. That can happen through blog posts, that can happen through when an instructor talks to somebody in person, when a manager talks to somebody in person, or when we put out like a public post or something like that. All these are, I think, funnels.
defining fitness in a way that it does not promote unhealthy body image is something that one has to be really conscious of, especially when you have such a big platform. But I'm sure, like, even I remember growing up in Pakistan, there have been many times when I have had to redefine what fitness means for me, because sometimes society's definition is unhealthy and it does not apply to everyone. It's very narrow. So it's like black and white, right? Have there been times in your life, like what was your relationship with fitness like? How did you have to define it for yourself? Were there some myths around it that you kind of had to bust through and you had to overcome, especially when you have people just remarking on how fitness directly correlates to weight? So how did you go about that?
See, this is that people definitely, a lot of people will come to fitness because they have this image of, okay, my weight is this, and by all means, like, there are, now we have very clear metrics as to, if you weigh a certain amount, is that normal, is that overweight, is
Exactly.
that obese? So that all stands, I'm not, in no way do I mean that if somebody is overweight and if the charts are showing that, they're in a certain category, they should not be worrying about it. Absolutely, it has health implications more than any way, anything that, any fact of what size you fit in or how you look. It's about what's going on inside the body and how, how your body is taking that weight on. So, the health implications 100% are our first priority. But at the same time, I do feel that, it's, for me personally, just coming back to your question as well, that's how the journey started. I always was a kid who would put on weight very quickly. I loved being active, so it wasn't a problem for me to, and I didn't want to hold back what I ate. I really enjoyed, eating freely and whatever I wanted as a teenager growing up. So it was very obvious for me that I should stay active and fit, because every time I would do an activity, every time I'd pick up a sport, I would see the results on my body. And a lot of other people also do the same. They'll come to fitness for these short term kind of, goals of, you can say, like, on the surface goals that I want to look a certain way, lose a few pounds, but they almost always stay for the real benefits. The real benefits are overall health wise, like sleep wise, and even in, for example, teenagers and kids, if we don't see health issues that early on in life, because sometimes they tend to come on later on, we see a lot of anxiety and mental health issues that are now kicking off from a very young age. So teenagers are very much prone to it, and we immediately start seeing their self-esteem, self-confidence, anxiety, panic attacks, all those things that are becoming very prevalent now amongst the teenage community. We see effects of that, and when even they themselves see it, when mothers see it, when parents see it, when people start to realize these real benefits, that's what they stay for. And it was exactly the same for me. So, to the question you asked, I'm in this for the benefits that I've had. I have two kids. My daughter was just born 4 months ago. And I know as a mom, as a mother, that when you go through multiple, not just multiple, but when you go through pregnancies, even if you're a woman who has not gone through pregnancies, in the life of a female, there are so many, hormonal challenges. Your body is continuously kind of going through different phases as you age, and it becomes, so just the impact of that is quite a lot. And I feel that it has just, personally, it has helped me immensely through this time, right? I get my energy from my workouts. I drive this, you can say, kind of, energy, my stamina, my endurance, to deal with my work, my kids. I'm like a regular working mom, right? I have work and then I have home responsibilities. And I feel like the more I turn to fitness, the more capable and able I am to take on everything in a very positive way. And this is what Noor and I, so Noor is also in a very similar boat. She's got kids, she's working. And this is what we use to derive, like, you can say, learnings from for our community. We serve we serve a female community through Aimfit. And because of our own experience, it helps us to kind of, design what is it that the community really needs.
That's great. Congratulations, Malaka, on your second baby. I didn't know that. So excited for you.
Thank you. So
So
Noor
lots
actually
of,
had her
yeah,
Noor actually had her baby. So Noor also just had her second baby, and
amazing.
so my nephew Mustafa was born on the day that we signed our term sheet.
Oh,
The
that is some good
so
news.
it was quite quite exciting time for our
Yeah.
families, and also obviously for Aimfit.
When good things happen, they happen in bulk, and yeah, that's what's great about it. So we're talking about life phases and how fitness sort of ties into your overall routine as being a mom and a working mom, right? So I also want to talk about the phase that you went through when you opened AimFit, and it was a small business, it was a startup, and then you had 6 years. And I think what's the transition that sort of happened between the start? Because I feel like I'm kind of in the same boat. It's been 3 years, and when you start a business, it's very different than 2 years into it or 3 years into it. Every day you learn something new. You learn something new about your business. You learn something new about yourself. So, how would you say that you have evolved with AimFit?
Yeah, I think that it's a very valid question, and all anybody who has had a go at an entrepreneurial venture would relate to this. It's just there is absolutely the challenges evolve, right? What you're facing in year one of the business is different from what you'll face even like in sometimes month to month. The challenges are changing, and it really has been like for Noor and me, it has been um, very in some ways straightforward, because we had a mission in mind that we just literally had written on the wall, that this is where we want to get to. And then it was all about finding ways of getting there. So we obviously try different things. The parts that don't lead to anywhere, they don't get mentioned, they don't get spoken about. So but it's not that they didn't happen. So sometimes we've tried stuff that hasn't worked, and we've said, okay, so this strategy does not work, that means we're never doing this again. So back to take a few step backs, and let's like do what is working. So that has been a really big part of how we've operated, and I think time and time again just going to our mission, right? There's all these women, how are we going to get to, how are we going to make this something much much bigger? And because for us it from the very start has been about impact. It's been about the number of lives we touch. We from the very start to see the impact of what Aimfit was doing, and that's actually I think what made us stick. So actually when we started our first year of operation, Noor and I both had other jobs. So Noor has background in astrophysics, I have background in engineering and management, and it's safe to say people who know us from school know that we were very academically driven. And so when we were doing Aimfit for the first year, it was absolutely a hobby, something that we loved. But we had other jobs. I was working in education, she was working in energy, and we at some point just made a conscious decision that this is what we are going to do, because we were always impact driven, and we saw more impact from the 2 hours that we would spend in the day part time than we were in other jobs. And hence it was like quite an obvious thing, and it was also taking off. People were really responding well. It was oversubscribed. So we decided to then pursue this full time. But I think that one thing, there's a book, I don't know if you've read it or not, it's called Hard Things About Hard Things. And really the crux of that book is, I actually recently somebody recommended it to me and I read it. And really the crux is that they ask quite a few successful people as to what they have done to get through certain years of their life, certain years of business. And there's people who kind of were moderately successful. They would point out to a few things that I did this, I think this is what I can kind of credit my success to. And then people who they saw were super successful, all of them just had one thing in common, and that was they just said, look, I didn't give up. And I think
Exactly.
that there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in just repeating that, okay, I cannot give up, this is my mission,
True.
I have to get here, I cannot give up. So
I think
I
there's
really,
a
I think that
There's a lot of
Yeah, go on.
stubbornness involved in being an entrepreneur. You just have to be extremely stubborn and you have to stick to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that people who have other entrepreneurs around them who they feel can do something should try to contribute in whatever way they can, because it is, I feel like, just as a country, as a, as a society, we there's such a dearth of this. We have some really great upcoming talent, startups, businesses, people who have the potential to expand, and take Pakistani initiatives around the globe. And I feel like as a community we need to support that person, because it really is something that cannot be done alone. So for me and Noor,
Definitely.
a lot of our support, I think a lot of our support comes from our families, right? Our husbands, our families, our parents. Like, they've all from day one believed in the mission that we set for ourselves and have actually actively enabled us. I think that, every time I talk about this, I feel like it's becoming a thank you speech, but there is no, I say it because I want to inspire anybody who might be listening and who might be a facilitator for another entrepreneur. It is just as important a job. And even if you're not related to them, if you're somebody in a position of influence, if you're an investor, if you're like, so we've, again, as we were going through the investment process, what we found was that there are investors out there who are really founder friendly, and so it's just great to see an ecosystem that is tailored to support entrepreneurs and founders, rather than, I think, put more hurdles or challenges, because there's too many of those anyway.
That's very true. That's very true. Like, when you think of founders, you think it's just their effort and their determination and their mission, but it is truly a community effort, because without your supporting community, there's only so much you can achieve. You need good word of mouth. You need people to motivate you at times, because as you know, there are times when you start a venture and you build a vertical and it's not successful. You really do need support from the people around you, whether it be from your own family or it be from the startup ecosystem itself. And I do feel that with time, this ecosystem is sort of improving and the bubble is sort of opening up a bit. First, when I started, like back in 2017, I felt like the conversation around it was quite limited, but with really good startups coming out of Pakistan, like, recently Airless and now even Aimfit, right? The conversation is starting and people are actually looking into it. It's generating interest and it's pulling eyeballs.
Yeah, I think so. I think that some really good people are now investing in Pakistan. We've partnered with Indus Valley Capital. We
Yeah.
absolutely were delighted to find a partner in them, because again, we feel that they're super founder friendly, and they're more of a partner for us. They're
Mm-hmm.
more of a facilitator, partner, thought partner. There's a mentorship element, and that's what these relationships, for founders, should be. That's what they're most, you can say, that's something that places the founder for success.
Exactly. It's not just about the capital or the injection of cash. It's about the mentorship, the connections. Yeah, it's about all of that.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes we forget and we focus just on the money, but it's much more than that, definitely.
Absolutely.
Malaka, talking about growth, right now, are you active in Lahore and Islamabad?
Yes. So the offline business is in Lahore and Islamabad. We do have an online offering that anybody can now access from anywhere. It's still like, so it's a solution that we came up with a couple of months ago,
Due to COVID,
largely to
yeah.
cater to COVID. And but we got a really good response. So we're still offering online classes. They're not live; they're pre-recorded sessions, but they're recorded to a very high, you can say, degree of the quality of these sessions is, I'm biased, but I do feel it's a cut above. So I think that's what that's what made people stick on. And it was one of the things which I feel in this process has helped a lot, just the kind of the community we had, but also the quality of what we are keen to produce. So yes, the offline business, the studio side of the operations, which we actually see those as our experience centers, where people can actually go in person to experience what Aimfit is all about. That's in Lahore and Islamabad. And then shortly you will see our app also release. And hopefully that, that will be the start of something big.
Yeah, that's just what I wanted to touch on, and along with the Aimfit experience. But in the near future and even the long-term future, are you looking more for an online growth as compared to a physical presence?
So that's a really good question, and for us, I think, look, we're getting to the right answer. We see, just because of the kind of access people have through mobile phones, right? Like, not everybody will have access to a physical facility that they can go to, and obviously our physical facilities are also priced at a premium price point, because of just the fact that, a certain kind of experience, we are very keen to deliver the highest quality. Like, if you compare Aimfit classes to any class around the world, you'll say, wow, this could be anywhere, this could be happening anywhere in the world. So just to preserve that experience, our experience centers are premium. They are priced much higher, but the online service will be priced much more in an affordable fashion, so that it can reach out to a lot more people. So we do imagine that eventually we will have a lot more users online, but at the same time, our experience centers are also our, you can say, R&D hub. That's where we experiment, that's where we create workouts, and we do research around them. Like, literally, when we create a new plan, the team is always coming up with new things, the program team, and every time we've got a new choreography, or every time we've got a new routine, we look very closely at what the heart rate is like, how are people responding to the routine. So we do that testing phase in our studios before we push something online. So for us, both of the operations are very closely linked.
Okay, all right. That's very cool that what you said about testing new routines and testing new things in the studio itself. I wanted to touch more upon what the Aimfit experience really is. So, how would
That's
you
a great
define
question.
it? Like, what is the Aimfit experience?
So, I mean, we use three words to do it, to say, and we don't. Our community uses three words, and that's this hashtag that trends in Aimfit is hashtag my happy place. So, if I was to really just summarize it for you, I think it has become a happy place for people. And yes, it is a place where you come, you're challenged, you're in a physically stimulating environment where you are, pushing yourself and all of that. But at the same time, it's the overall, I'd say, state of mind that it puts you in. You're relieved. Obviously, physical activity has a hormonal effect on your body, right? Endorphins and all of that is real. So your body starts to feel happy on its own, because hormonal changes are happening, right? So exactly, like, we don't really we can't, there's times when we can't figure out why we are feeling down or depressed. In the same way, sometimes there's actually no reason why you feel really happy and ecstatic, and it is also because of some hormonal, you can say, changes happening in the body. So it's part of that is that, and then a part of it is finding a community that is extremely supportive, a positive community that is there to uplift you. So Aimfit has always been that, and we actually are very conscious of the culture that we are developing and spreading, and we have always wanted to keep it super positive. We work very hard to keep the culture this way, and we are extremely lucky to find people, I think, who have contributed so much. Like the Aimfit team, I would say, absolutely, it's I think Noor and my dream, and then it's really our team that has just gone and made it happen. And then it's the people that we have found who have just resonated the same positivity and made Aimfit their own, and started to spread the message. And I feel that is it. at the heart of it is that amazing fitness class that you will experience. It will make you feel out of the world. And then the overall, I think that the more nuanced side is what I've explained, in that, people feel it's their happy place, and they can really just find and be a part of a community that's all about them.
That's great. Like, I would love to go somewhere that's just the happy place. You need that sometimes. You need to be uplifted. And if you have that
Absolutely.
community experience, I'm sure it's even more impactful. So now that I know
Absolutely.
about the Aimfit experience, I want to talk about your demographics. What demographics are you going to be targeting when you look at scaling?
I mean, so for us, it's the as the app, Sama, grows, we really do plan to reduce the price point, make it accessible to a lot more people, a lot more women. Anybody above the age of really 10 is somebody who for us is part of our community. Like girls, as soon as they're, even sometimes younger girls, right? Because we have programs that cater to people, and then actually we have programs that cater to all the way up to 65, 75, 85. And we have a program that we say is our version of the programs for moms and aunties, uh, which my mom started off with. And to be very honest, we are now seeing a remarkable, you can say, a, a effort from the slightly older community that has joined Aimfit. Older to nahi kehna chahiye, elder, right? There's
Yeah,
no older, right? Age is absolutely
exactly.
just a number, as I
The
have
more
now seen.
experience.
But yeah, more experience. I think our mothers, that segment, grandmothers, young grandmothers, and a kind of that age group, I feel is started off at Aimfit. We have customized programs for them also. That's, I think, also what makes Aimfit a little different, because we really cater to the localized needs. And we know that something that, for example, my mom would require when she comes to her first class is different to what I would need. So we don't put people all in the same basket. And within these, so while we cater to this massive range of ages, we also want to cater to people across income sectors. So we don't want income, and we don't want social standing to be something that holds back somebody's education towards fitness and health. And at the baseline, we have, even through our online social media channels, we're always giving out free information, some free workouts. That is always there. It will continue to be there, because we genuinely believe that there's no reason why, if somebody is feels like they cannot, that shouldn't be the case, that somebody feels that they're not being able to afford the service. Has to eventually be so big that it is within everybody's reach. And B, if there's always these free options and free community support, education, that we are in any case going to be providing.
That was one of my concerns. Not a concern, but something I thought about, because when you think of the lower socioeconomic strata, first of all, there are going to be some hurdles, such as the conservative aspect of it. But when you move more online, then you also have to look at internet penetration, right? And smartphone access. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so what are your thoughts on that? Do you think a lot of like, what are the numbers for the younger millennials who have smartphone access that is actually going to be a part of your market?
Yeah, so I think, look, it's the Pakistan is one of the youngest populations in the world. We already have a lot of like internet and smartphone penetration. This is like, so we like to think of this as the landline versus mobile phone, you can say, spread, right? So even in places where people still don't have landlines, now they have mobile phones. So if for us, like, an online fitness solution equates to that. So we think that even if places will not eventually have gyms or studios or physical infrastructure that pushes people in a certain direction, they will get access to tech enabled solutions that will make life a lot easier. And with that in mind, like, we see 110 million women in Pakistan who are waiting to use this solution. It's like saying that when actually Kareem and when Uber launched in Pakistan, there's a big chunk of our society, of our population, that started having access to private cars. Before that, it might have been a rickshaw or it might have been public transport. But just having access to, a private car to go somewhere, that's what got enabled because of technology. People's, like, the solution that they were using, the quality of life and the impact it had, amazing. So, and we feel that with Aimfit, we're headed in a similar direction, where we want to create something which is absolutely as premium as can be, like, just from the education side, from the kind of workouts that are going to be available. It is going to be one of the best in class, like, when it comes to an online fitness solution. That's what we are aspiring for. But at the same time, it will be affordable, because that's the beauty of something that is on an online platform, that the more people you spread that to, the more economically suitable you can make it for people.
I'm sure you've also looked at how before you start, penetrating into the rural market or to the lower socioeconomic areas within the major cities, there's going to be a big part that's going to be focused on education and awareness, because there are unfortunately a lot of social taboos that are attached to, just women or girls even being mobile and being active and sort of owning those spaces. So do you
Yeah.
have like is there going to be a program or something? What can we look forward to?
So we are doing quite a few things in this space, Sama. So, like I was mentioning to you, that our schools program is one, right, where we go out and where we actually spread the message through schools. We've done a couple of programs on national television. We did one with the TCF Foundation, like, TCF organization. Um, Again, that was targeted towards kids in schools, but we see eventually the change happening through multiple avenues and efforts. I don't think that I can say that, we'll do this and that will change
Exactly.
mindsets. I think that it is,
I think it's
yeah,
also
go on.
not, it's not going to be a solitary effort. Like this is a responsibility that can't only fall on Aimfit's shoulders, right? It has to be something that we do as a society. And with time, I feel like we are seeing certain improvements. We do have a lot of hurdles as well, but more people are becoming aware in one way or another. And I think that's the effort of many, many people and many societies working together.
Yeah, that's the thing about something positive, Sama, that when you have people who, are getting, they see the impact in their life. So that's what we've seen through our community. That's why we're so big on our community, especially our online community, because people, if you genuinely care about somebody, and if you see that something is benefiting you, you will spread that message to everybody who you care about. And that's what we see people pulling in their loved ones, like husbands, like pushing their wives to continue. We see, like, daughters bringing their moms, and that's one side of the effort. Then there's, yes, like, what about people who just simply have not heard about this, or, absolutely, there's a argument to be made that this needs to spread in Pakistan. Like, I think we've, Noor and I have mentioned this study a few times now because we're obsessed with it. But there's a study that's done with 150 countries, and
Yeah.
149th is the rank that Pakistan holds when it comes to participation of the population in sports or fitness. So, and this is like below Bangladesh, Afghanistan, below Nigeria, below you know, um, like, there's a lot of countries which I personally would have thought that we're on par with, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe above, like, and it was quite shocking that we're not. So it's that definitely there's a lot of room. So that means that there's real opportunity, but at the same time it means that it's a hurdle, because people are not aware. So you're actually also creating a market, and then convincing people that, look, this is beneficial. But like I'm saying, it's going to be like a multi-pronged strategy. Like, you try 10 things and maybe 5 work, and then you try another 10, and on goes the process.
So, Mahlaqa, as we wrap up, we've almost been discussing this for an hour, but I feel like I could keep, chatting with you, because this topic, it interests me so much. And I can also see your passion for fitness and your passion for Aimfit and what you do. And I just love that. But what kind of verticals can we expect from Aimfit? Like where can we see you expanding, or what areas can we see you growing into? Because I think even your community and people who've heard the news, they're really going to be looking forward to something exciting coming out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so, again, goes back to our mission of, just promoting health and wellness. We actually see the emerging markets as a real opportunity. We don't just, I think the problems that Pakistan has when it comes to fitness and health, those can eventually also be mapped onto countries like Saudi Arabia and, some like close neighbors, or, I think absolutely India is in a different, league now, like some of the startups that have come out from India, especially in the fitness space as well. I think they're setting a real example. But other areas in the other countries in the region, we feel that the emerging sector this is something that we've not put off the table. It's absolutely something that we talk about, we discuss what our international expansion strategy eventually is going to be. At the same time, I think anything that for women in Pakistan, like in the health and wellness side, anything that impacts. We've talked a lot about emotional and mental health, and we've talked a lot about nutrition and food and that side, and health and disease, and even like things like any sort of the medical practitioner side. So we see that people don't, for example, know what the role of physios is, or nutritionists is. Like, these are fields which people tend to just not have information about. So already Aimfit has set up a trusted health professionals network, where we have quite a lot of physios and nutritionists and health professionals coming together and talking about some issues and educating the community. So there is really, like, I would say, pack this into a few minutes. It's Everything is on the table for us. At the same time, we're also very keen to stay focused on what our immediate goals are, and then, like I said, any path that leads to that mission is something that we'll be very open to explore.
That's that sounds extremely exciting. So I think one of your short-term goals will be definitely to get like an app out there. So is there like a timeline for it? When can people expect to get the app?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We are actually in the product design phase right now, and we're keen to get something pushed out fairly soon. At the same time, obviously, we're keen for the first look of the app to be appealing, and for it to be the right for it to have the right product market fit, like any kind of tech venture things. So we're working on it, and we're gearing to obviously start a few more other initiatives in parallel. There's some physical offline studio presence that we're going to be expanding across a few major cities. So quite a few things coming up.
That sounds really interesting. I can't actually wait for the app to come out. I'd really love to check out like the user experience and see what kind of cool things you guys come up with. Mahlaka, is there anything else you'd like, to add, or anything I haven't touched upon for our audience so they can
Uh,
learn more?
No, actually, I think you, this was wonderful. I think you really hit all the different notes. And yeah, I just wish to, obviously, like I said before, like there's a role that, all founders, there's a role that we have to play as ecosystem players. So I know that Noor and I, as founders in this space, in the tech space, and even in as young female entrepreneurs, we're always open and encouraging towards other women and even other men, but specifically women who want to venture into entrepreneurship, tech, people who want to come towards fitness. So it's yeah, I mean, it's just I think the only thing I would wish to see more of happening is this enablement, and for us to see a lot more of this coming out of Pakistan, because this kind of activity is great.
Very true. I think we need more collaborations, and we need bigger platforms for women, especially in entrepreneurship, to connect to each other and sort of uplift each other. That'd be really cool to see and sort of be a part of.
Yeah, no, absolutely agreed.
Do you want to shout out social media handles or Aimfit social media handles so our audience can just hop on, follow, stay tuned for what's to come next?
Yeah, absolutely. So Aimfit, we're quite active on our social media. We're known as Aimfit Official on Instagram and Twitter. And obviously people can just, look us up on Facebook as Aimfit. We have a group by the name of Aimfit Ladies Army, where a lot of the kind of closed under the covers stuff happens. It's a private group, which is female only. So, anybody who wants to connect with Aimfit, all the social media channels are open.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I think I'm also part of that group. I keep following it. Yeah.
That's great.
Mahalaka, it's been amazing talking to you, and I love getting this insight into AimFit and what your plans are, your own journey with AimFit. It's been lovely getting to know that, and hopefully we can chat again in the future, and by then you'll probably have some more interesting things to tell me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sama. Thank you so much for having me.
So that was the first episode of the Gaanda show in which we hosted Mahlaqa Shaukat. She's this amazing woman who is running AimFit with her sister and a team of really dedicated and amazing people. Do check out their socials. They just raised a seed investment of $1 million, and we can expect some really cool things to come out of them. Let us know who you'd like us to host on the show next time. Stay tuned and don't forget to follow Propergaanda on all its social media platforms.